Oh man. Okay, so friends, thank you very much for watching. We're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about a lot of things, but first, I want to talk about how the next few sessions are gonna go because this is gonna be a bit of a time dilation. Um,
Yeah.
the the events of the full moon are going to happen everywhere, kind of simultaneously, but
Like,
it's going to take us time to get through each of them. We will have at least one session following the player characters and their defense of the forge itself. We will have we will have at least one more jumping over to the antagonist party and talking about what they're up to, maybe even doing a redux of folks playing those characters again. I don't know, we'll see. We're also going to be revisiting some old friends who are probably going to be attacked while they are assumed to be unwary, which, of course, given who we're talking about, they never are. So you definitely want to tune in for the next several sessions because all of this is going to be happening at once and all of it is going to affect each other. And I am going to die of stress trying to keep all of this coordinated. It's going to be amazing. So, Jen, I know that
Yes.
you will be out for a variable amount of time, a couple
Yeah.
of times in the next year.
Yeah.
We have options, one of which being, of course, we can run a group that doesn't require you to be there for a session or two. I'm even open to the idea of looking for guests to fill the fourth spot with, of course, checking in with everyone ahead of time. We've got options is what I'm saying. I know you've got medical stuff that you're going to do and it's going to be amazing and you're not going to describe in detail what that medical procedure is, but
No.
but we'll make it work one way or the other. It's good that Kretha is kind of settling at the forge because it makes it very easy for you to go off and do what you need to do for as long as you need to do it, and Kretha will always be there when you're ready to game with us again.
Yes.
So just wanted to let you know the next few sessions, you'll be there for the next one at least, and then we'll figure things out after that. Oh, you won't be there for the next one.
No, I won't be there
mind.
for the next one.
I got my dates mixed up.
The one after, possibly, but not the next one.
I got my dates mixed up.
Literally happening.
Yeah.
We got stuff. We got stuff we could do.
We got this. So.
Yeah. That is not. Yeah.
I have to say, and I know I've said this so many times that it's cliche at this point. I always go in expecting some things and suspecting other things and trying to plan for as many contingencies as I can. Nothing in my mind prepared me for a group improv of Kretha suddenly being the Lord Regent of the Sunless Citadel. I did not.
That didn't prepare me either.
I did not plan that. That happened because, I mean, I realized as the scene was happening, well, yeah, but she's holding Durgadin, and he is kind of stepping all over her stuff. And you did sort of start to express some discomfort about that. And, like, suddenly Barnabas has to realize, oh, yeah, I'm a king. Like, I have to act like a king. And from there, it was all a beautiful, like, multiplayer improv, and that was one of the most satisfying scenes I've ever run.
Yeah, oh my God, Kretha is actually the highest-ranking dwarf in this place.
Yeah,
oh
when
my
you
God,
said that was
yes.
like the record scratched.
And her,
and then, also, like, the lady, like, Regent, like, yeah, that's the closest title I could come up with.
I mean, and if you think about it, she really would be considered the priestess of the forge, but nobody's really thinking about that because they.
I went with Regent because you were essentially the steward of the next Dwarven king of this place.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a next Dwarven king in this place.
If there is a next Dwarven king, very technically that's your call, because right now you have Durgadin's Scepter of Authority. You have it acts as a belt of Dwarven kind, so they treat you as a dwarf. You are, because you have the oath of office and are in the Citadel, you are the only dwarf native to the Citadel. Therefore, you are in
at
charge
this
of the
point.
Citadel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Woo.
Dwarves are very lawful, high protocol.
You're probably asking how I got myself into this. Yep.
Yeah,
that's
I
me.
mean, this is Kretha. This has been a wild ride from from the start, but
what's going to be wild is like Calder is absolutely at one point going to talk to Kreitha. It's like, you do realize this means you deeply outrank your father now.
It also makes you potentially the wealthiest being in Faerun.
Like you have as much potential wealth as the Lord's Alliance as a faction.
And she wouldn't even think
as
about
the entire
that.
kingdom of Fae.
Think about the Forge in terms of wealth. She thinks of it in the terms of it's a place that people live and it's a place that produces stuff. And she's not thinking in terms of wealth. She's not thinking in terms of anything. Like, she's thinking in terms of, well, I've got some people here. We need to make sure that they are fed, and this place is really dirty, so it's got to be cleaned. And we got those battles. So we got to prepare.
The ruffle is that you can't show that weakness because the next Dwarven king, who is more belligerent, can run roughshod over you and just take over and using your protocols. So
she's gonna have to learn
stuff. Like, no, you need to toughen up. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, she's not gonna toughen up in 3 days.
No.
Well, the battle might do a lot to help harden that, but we're not across that bridge yet.
Speaking of time, Jen, you said you needed to duck out early. I don't want us to get distracted and push you too late.
I do need to duck out early, and it'll be really easy for me to get distracted. You know me.
Hey, Jen, tell us who you are and tell us where people can find you.
I'm Jen Winterrose, also known as the Swedish Geek Ball, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Etsy as Winterrose Art and Illustration. I'm getting rid of my Twitter, so I'm sorry you can't find me there.
Probably a good choice.
Yeah, no,
I'm going down with this sinking ship, but probably a good choice.
But yeah, so I'm there. So, and I love you all, and I will see you guys as soon as I am physically capable.
Very good
Take
game.
Care.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So all of that just happened.
Oh man, I'm surprised Galvin stuck around. I'm very surprised Galvin stuck around.
I want like the next time we do a time jump to like have Galvin be like this big like attraction at that circus. I think that'd be hilarious.
I don't know if he'd be a good fit, but it would definitely be a place for him to land and learn about the circus a bit more.
Whether he ends up as an attraction, he would be invaluable for support staff. Can you imagine a heavy hand that can turn invisible and can do stuff in the middle of a crowd?
Right, or like can get big and like be a part of acts that way. It's
a stage hand that is literally invisible.
I think he would, if he wants to try it. I think the circus would. Echo thinks running away and joining the circus will solve almost every problem you got, because it did for him.
Spotlights probably aren't great for Dwerger, but there. I mean, of course, there would be a place there. Yeah, I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with him yet.
I loved how we managed to pivot. Like we have the entire we randomly adopt small things got turned into like we have a code of honor regarding our treatment of prisoners.
Of course.
I think that was a little odd for Echo to hear Calder say that after he was the one who almost fucking killed the guy.
Yeah, but
we have a code of honor about sentience, and Echo's just standing there like, do we?
He was an enemy combatant at the time.
You have decided you want the Dwerger to live. Ergo, I want the Dwerger to live.
I love Calder so much, but between these the becoming harsher and harsher calls we're having to make leading up to this huge war skirmish, and we're finally going to get into the thick of it, and Echo's being disillusioned about a few people.
And I have to say that Anton's grudging, like, blossoming respect should not be something that Calder is like happy about. Especially since the moment Anton realizes that you are manipulating an impressionable young goblin into essentially giving you the reins over the most valuable piece of land on the planet, like, he might just have to acknowledge that you are more of an ass than him, even though he's totally mistaken about your motivations. He's like, damn, he's really, really cold.
Yeah, I
Because
love that.
clearly
Like
that's
he
the only
was,
thing you could be doing, right?
but of course he sees it through that lens.
Yeah.
Of course he would.
I see. I got to pilot Anton during our Halloween special, and I really, what was the mindset I took for inhabiting him is that not that he thinks he's any different at being an asshole or cruel or mean, but just like he's somehow cracked the code that everybody else is like too polite or too like withheld to actually embrace what everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be a cruel asshole, right? And he's got the good of it because he knows how to actually do it.
It's funny because Calder hit the exact same conclusion, but went in a wildly different direction with it because his like we've been watching Calder like gently slide towards chaotic good over the course of this campaign, and like he's now reached the point where it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Rules are just bullshit words that we allow to bind ourselves. So the moment I decide this doesn't apply to me, or I decide what applies to other people, and they go along with it, that's the moment it's true.
And that's why I'm trying to use characters like Galvin as kind of a I don't really do you've noticed I don't really do like hard alignments in this game, but I use characters like that as kind of an alignment test and as kind of a moral dilemma to try to figure out which direction the characters are going, especially since in this case you were dealing with a culture that even Calder only had kind of academic knowledge of and Echo didn't know a thing about. And like it was interesting to sort of navigate the idea of, well, you're taking this person away from his chosen path. You didn't mean to. You were just trying to save his life, but you forcibly deviated his path to something he didn't choose and didn't want. And I'm just kind of enjoying toying with that a little bit.
Oh, it's a real interesting cultural disparity because it's like in his mind he should be dead, and in our minds, no, like that is an utterly unnecessary, arbitrary line.
Echo feels really shitty still about the fact that stepping in hurt this guy. You know, he very much believes that if he had died in service of his clan, he would get rewarded for it in the afterlife. And Echo doesn't know that he's wrong about that. No one knows that he's wrong about that. And so Echo feels really fucking bad about how what he thought was a kindness was also dealing a blow to this guy. And then to hear Barnabas laugh about it, laugh at the faux pas Echo had done. Ugh.
Well, like it was either the reaction was anger, and then Calder injected the line that made him laugh because laughter is better than because laughing Balder Shoulder probably better than screamingly angry racist.
That line or that entire part of the scene went really well because it really did feel like Calder managed to hit like a pressure release valve. That really changed the tenor of the scene. We are not only dealing with big prejudices, but we're also dealing with a person who has more responsibility also on his shoulders. In a lot of ways, Boulder Shoulder is in a similar position to Kreetha, because like Kreetha has a big citadel, but like nobody there, right? She's not really in charge of people. All the people there are you all and Barnabas's dwarves. But he is suddenly in charge of an expanding army that is in the middle of a war. So he's also in a place where he's kind of trying to figure out what's what, and how to protect his people best.
I think it's also a little telling that Echo knows that Barnabas cares about his people and about getting through this struggle, but Echo is also, maybe because he's such an optimist, he's thinking about 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. How do you treat the people who are already neighbors to you, who found this place before anybody else did? He's thinking not just about making an alliance to get through this fight with the orcs, but about what kind of neighbors is the Citadel Adbar dwarves going to be to the lizard folk that we know are here, to the Dwergar that we know are here, to the drow that we know are here, to the dragon who's living in their basement. He's, maybe because he's such an optimist, that he's not thinking about what happens if we lose to the orcs? Because if what happens if we lose to the orcs is that they take over the world slowly but surely. But what happens if we win? Who am I putting in power here? And is that a good thing 5 years down the line and 10 years down the line?
It's an interesting place for a player character to be, and I appreciate that now that we're in the mid to approaching high levels, like your sphere of influence, which used to be just what, like yourselves and whatever dungeon you were delving, like the kobolds and goblins in the Sunless Citadel, has expanded so that your influence is now like these decisions you make are going to have very major consequences all over the place, and it's a very fun shift to watch players come to terms with.
Yeah, I it's very curious that Barnabas put a pin. Like, I understand why. He's thinking about the here and now and like the next day and the next 5 days and the next 10 days of putting a pin in the whole answering, like, how are we going to treat the Dwergar neighbors as a civilization? Like, he's putting a pin in it now, but Echo is starting to doubt whether or not the Forge should exist at all.
Well,
like you were describing how Calder was looking at this place and seeing the magical items that they're churning out in just these 2 days, and he's thinking about this is going to change commerce, this is going to change the face of the world as far as like power and
even the magic
available.
items we've already made have will upset the balance of power
Right.
in the region.
And Echo's looking at this, and he's not seeing the dollar signs, he's not seeing like the huge geopolitical stuff, he's seeing this is a lot of power to trust to the person running this place. And he's
once upon a time there was a lot more magical items and weapons in the world because the Forge was active. Because
I
the
don't
Forge
think
was
we learned that the Forge never really got off the ground. They got attacked before the actual Citadel got completed.
We know that there have been ancient times where magic was much more commonplace. It's possible that the Forge of Fury is an artifact from that time or an attempt to recreate it. But
there were
yes,
flying islands at one point in this world's history. Magic used to be a lot more prevalent at several points.
Yeah, we'll run an ancient like Magic Punk campaign one day.
The spell plague is still in some living memory for some people.
Not for Echo.
No. So, but critically, like people remember, there are people who remember a higher magic time in living memory.
Yeah.
So
this is a piece of the past that can be very disruptive.
The idea of injecting that much more magic into the world, it's a double-edged sword. On one end, we are a era of this has a long-term cascade of bringing magic into the world in a much more real way than the last several hundred years. That's a big deal in Faerun.
Yeah.
But the downside of it is that, like, on a temporal level, on a political level, on an economic level, it's going to destroy some people, but it might be better for the world overall.
Yeah. Echo is contemplating all of this, and he definitely has that line in his mind of, if it looks like we're going to lose control of the Forge to the orcs and their army, he is going to do his best to destroy it so that they can't use it. And that's the hard line in his brain, but there is a almost translucent, very soft line starting to form of, at what level would I not trust Barnabas with this Forge? And he hasn't quite figured that out yet.
You were describing Calder as like thinking about it in terms of economics, and I think that was true. But I was also like, I'm also a spellcaster, so I was thinking more along lines of like, I am still a person who deals with the weave. I know what magic is like in this world, and this much magical injection of power back into the world and thus back into the weave is huge. That's bigger than any economy. And
Echo
so
doesn't know shit about that.
So like that's where Calder's coming from in all this, is that he's looking at this and just going, yeah, economics, yes, money, yes, influence. I will likely benefit from this. This will be such a huge infusion of magic back into the world. The downstream effects of that could mean the end of plagues, the end of so much more, the rise of entire new civilizations.
It's happened before, at least once.
It has happened before. It will probably happen again. And giving it to the dwarves, frankly, they're one of the better possible stewards for it. I would not
Depends
trust
on the dwarves.
it depends on the dwarves. But the last time this got in the hands of humans, we had flying islands.
Oh yeah, and
Had.
I just, it's this. Echo has not come to terms with the reality of war yet. He hasn't had to be on a battlefield. He's seen like the bodies that we found here, and that he's like Rob was describing, like being out in the Glitterheim, and that huge battle that has been happening this whole time, you know, between when the PCs were here last and now. How like there's already been a war going on this whole month.
I missed a trick there. I missed a trick there because when you came out into the Glitterheim, I should have given the description of how what was once a beautiful place, right? When you went into the Glitterheim the first time, Calder walked right into an encounter. Oh, you weren't there.
Yeah.
But
Echo doesn't know how beautiful it used to look.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's now a battlefield, right? Like all that was once beautiful of it is
Calder can show you now.
Yeah.
But this is Echo getting to roleplay what Echo is going to do after because he's been in fights, we've been in skirmishes, we've been in a gladiator pit. Echo has not been on a war field, a battlefield yet.
Yeah,
and he is a gentle soul.
Yeah, the horrors of war are going to fuck up Echo's life.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And Calder is I've enjoyed this session because Calder stepping into his own on a nobility level has been really interesting, because he's been like a large part of his character development has been avoiding being a noble as much as he could. And then like then at Waterdeep he started like dipping his toe in on his own terms, and now he's tied to the Lord's Alliance, and now he's advising a regent and a king in a time of war.
And the conversation with Anton and Calder was not only one of the finer bits of dialogue we've done in this game, it's one of the finer bits of dialogue that you and I have done together.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm quite proud of that final line of him like accusing me of being boisterous, and just like, no, I've never felt a need to lie to you.
I feel like
the unspoken part being, you're not important enough to me to lie to.
I do think I managed to take you aback just a little bit when he brought up Xanathar.
That definitely threw me off my game.
What the fuck?
but I much like how I deliberately tipped my hand with the mastery over acid damage, but in so doing he also tipped his hand and it's like, oh, I suddenly know exactly how deep you're in now.
Basically, yeah. It was an excellent interaction.
It's basically we both out of pride tipped our hands more than we probably should have.
Just wanted to show off a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he couldn't stop himself from doing it, and that like how Calder couldn't stop himself, which fits them there, because like as they level up, as they both get their own power, Anton and Calder's rivalry is going to turn bloody, and it will be horrible
at some point.
Anyone in the way.
And the problem with people like Calder and Anton, like you said, it never just affects them.
Yeah, because of the nature of their rivalry, they will both put themselves into positions of power, and even if Calder would never want to use his position to hurt Anton, Anton would not hesitate to use his position to hurt Calder 100%. And anyone close to him.
Yeah. I think,
and at that point they're involved anyway. Better to get everyone against him as I can.
So I think we got about 20 minutes left. I think now would be a good time, even though there's only 3 of us, to do our usual end. There's a lot that we had fun with this evening. I love these sort of not diceless, but like combatless role-playing sessions, especially since we're coming into several sessions that are going to be very heavy combat, interspersed with some probably deeply traumatic roleplay. But
Yeah.
I like having like the calm before the storm, as it were. And this was a good one, full of a lot of really sharp dialogue and a lot of really fun sort of twists and turns. But I have to ask, what is one thing, preferably, that you had fun with this evening, and what is a player character that you think should get inspiration next game? And let's go ahead and start with Gale.
I've talked a bit about it. I had a lot of fun getting to kind of take the shine off of Echo a bit. The dealing with Galvin and realizing that he is a source of not great stuff in Galvin's life, and getting to see the stressed out, more callous side of Barnabas, and it's, you know, and seeing the battlefields that are still here. I am enjoying getting to do this. Is Echo, and he was called to this, but he is not a cruel person, and he does not enjoy violence, and so throwing him into a war is going to be really fun, and I'm having fun like setting up the building blocks to that. And I really enjoyed watching Calder, and it, in particular with in regards to Kretha, of how not only just stepping in to be a bit of advisor when she was floundering, but the checking in, the hug before we went and flew out, the you know, complimenting her on her forging and what she sees. It is very lovely to get to see Calder being more open and honest about how much she cares about Kretha, and how Kretha is, you know, steadily over the course of knowing the two of them, knowing each other, like the bond forming there, and it's paying off now. And I can't help but feel that it's going to head to somewhere very angsty if anything happens to either of them. So I'm enjoying the wonderful bonding and found family while it lasts.
If Kretha pulls a Clarion, everything in that room dies.
Oh, you care about her so much, and I can tell. This would be bad if something happened.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Same question. Something you had particular fun with, and a player character you think deserves some inspiration.
I liked the interaction with Anton quite a bit, but I have to say my favorite moment was the watching like Kretha's like steady floundering in character and having that like that realization in real time of putting the piece together. Oh my God, she's actually the highest ranking dwarf in this place, and that's hilarious. And like having that realization, like sitting next to Echo going, oh my God. That was like absolutely like the two they're like watching their friend like floundering and being like giving like very long sentences, using 18 words when 2 will do, and like the Dwarven language isn't made to be this verbose and flowery.
She just does such a good job.
Oh yeah, it was fun it was so fun to do that. That was a lot of fun to actually experience. The moment I did deeply enjoy for a personal interaction, was a brief moment, but it was funny to me, for Echo dealing with Calder when they were like deciding their various ways of getting to the service and eventually settling on like the way they had planned initially of we're going to Lawrence on, and then like sharing Calder's broom and like and like this like has done no favors for Calder's crush on Echo, but will never admit it to himself. And like so just like, oh yeah, the most attractive goblin I know is like pressed right up against it. Yeah, this is fine.
Oh, and you know, it's like a multiple hour flight. You know, he was like hopping in front and behind and like hanging off of the broom and hanging off of you.
Like, I would love to see like a comic of just like them flying and like Echo is just in a different pose and like dangling off it from the bottom of their feet and like in his lap and then on his shoulders. And And like Calder just doesn't move.
Just that kind of deer in the headlights kind of thing of the.
Like I dare not react. Bad things happen. This will be like what would happen? I would be embarrassed, and that is much worse than anything else that I face. I would rather fight a chimera again.
And that's what Echo was worried about. Echo's like, I'm gonna be close, so we're not on different brooms, so we can just whatever we do, we're together in case fucking Xanathar cronies showed up again. Like he wasn't paying attention to Calder's crisis at all.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious. That would have been fun. That will be a fun little like I love that, like the gentle unpacking of Calder's, like Calder thinks of Kretha as a little sister, but like is like low key in love with Echo and does not know how to process that. Doesn't do anything about it, won't ever interact with that relationship because he doesn't like, he won't acknowledge it himself.
So the ball's in Echo's court is what you're saying.
I guess, yeah, essentially. Calder is damaged and has no, like, what level do you think Calder has any experience with positive relationships? The one person he had legitimate romantic feelings for died in front of him, and he was blamed for it. He doesn't have a lot of good experience.
I actually have written in my notes back from the Waterdeep thing where that Echo is attracted to Calder, would totally hook up with him if Calder ever showed any sort of interest. But also, Echo has a high enough insight to be like, Calder has some fucking issues he needs to work through.
You do not need a high insight.
Well, I'm just
Calder's
saying,
got some fucking issues.
It's okay. Just have Echo sit in Calder's lap for a prolonged period of time. Echo will figure it out. But yeah,
they're disasters.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. But the idea that like Calder has zero positive relationships in his life and like literally break down his family tree, like even his few positive family relationships like dealt fucked off.
Abandonment issues, other things.
The only other brother he kind of likes is one that is explicitly written as willing to betray him. So he has no positive relationships in his family. The only one that gets like baseline neutral is his stepmom.
Did you want, just to be clear, the inspiration point to go to Gale?
Like as I said, like the moment goes to Gale. That was my intent. But the scene because it just like it was small, but it unpacked so much.
It did. I agree. So I need to make a decision here. I had so much fun with everything. We've already talked a ton about it. I can't possibly choose, so I'm going to go ahead and give everyone inspiration for the next game.
That's entirely good and self-serving.
And that is nothing like when you go into a room and suddenly there's like 5 mega potions just sitting on the floor and there's a very large ornate door in front of you. It has nothing to do with that. It's nothing like that.
Hey, look, boss supplies. Hey, look, boss music. Hey, look, a boss.
So
why is there suddenly so much more bass?
Is that Latin appearing in the air? So yes, we are. I'm going to go ahead and give everyone a point of inspiration, including Ghost M's incoming character. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Oh man!
Let's go ahead and, in fact, just in time, take a few minutes to say goodnight, and then we'll finish up, and I can go ahead and go to sleep. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you. If you're here live or if you're watching the VOD, you can always find all of our backlog over at youtube.com/gamingmathematically. There is a Bad Decisions Club playlist, which is now over 200 videos long, which has the entire backlog that we have of this campaign. So if you're looking for a new campaign, it's got plenty of backlog.
We desperately need to do a clip show, dude.
I agree. We should do that. But the more footage there is, the more footage there is to go through.
Yeah. Block it into sections, like block it by dungeon. It'll be fine.
Jeff, where can people find you, follow you, and see your work?
You can find me on Instagram and on TikTok at Still Tired and Angry. I do sketches, artwork, paintings, etc. Just whatever I can do. I'm in a weird situation right now, but I very much like posting my art, so catch me there.
Gail, where can people find you, follow you?
I post most of my art and writings and animatics and such that I make on a Measure of Separation over at Tumblr. It's misspelled. I put it in the chat. Yeah, I do post some stuff to YouTube, but I always cross-post it to the Tumblr. Tumblr's where to find everything, whether or not it's canon.
You can find me on Twitch and for now on Twitter at MathDemigod. And as I said, youtube.com/gamingmathematically is the best way to go. You can also find my other work, my other videos at professor-cunningham.com. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a really fun game. I can't wait for the next one, and we will see you next time.
Good night.
Bye-bye.